All right, good morning, everyone. Thanks for being here. I'm the Member of Parliament for Peace River Westlock. Arnold Viersen is my name, from Northern Alberta. I'm proud to represent the honey capital of Canada in Falher. I like to say that my riding produces about a quarter of Canada's honey. So if you're wondering why I call it the promised land all the time, it's literally flowing with milk and honey. Falher also hosts the largest bee replica in the world. So if you ever make it across Northern Alberta, come on down and take your picture with the largest bee. Yesterday we celebrated Honey on the Hill. We had beekeepers from across the country represented there, from 5 provinces, and we're hoping to make get some initiatives going here in Canada. I'm jumping ahead here. The beekeeping and bees, they were telling me yesterday that if you eat 3 bites of food, 1/3 of those bees are responsible for that. So bees are very important to our food security across the country, and we have some concerns around the continuation of that. There are over 10,000 beekeepers in Canada, and over 800,000 colonies of bees. So we don't count bees individually, we count them as colonies or hives of beekeepers. So there's about 800,000, and about 75% of our food relies on pollination for this, particularly in the fruits and industry, but also our canola, which is why Northern Alberta is the honey capital of the world, is because we also grow a lot of canola. Beekeepers keep our bees alive. Most people don't know this, but bees don't survive Canadian winters, and so is the efforts of our beekeepers that keep bees alive across the year. And they've been facing a number of challenges in the last few years. So I recently tabled a motion in Parliament, M22, to highlight the contributions of our beekeepers, and also to outline a bit of the risks that we are facing. We are facing diseases and pests that can come in from the rest of the world. We're also facing folks from around the world sending products to Canada that aren't honey, but they call it honey. And so it's called adulterated honey. So some of the things you might think about: Honey Nut Cheerios. Is there actually honey in the Honey Nut Cheerios? The honey garlic hot wings that you buy, or is that actually honey on those hot wings that you buy? So these are some of the issues where the word honey is being used, but it's not necessarily being honey. And folks from around the world are sending stuff to us, they're calling it honey, that it might not be honey at all. So I'm going to turn this over to Curtis. He's a beekeeper from my riding, who's got raised a little bit of the concerns that they're hearing from. He is the head of the Beekeepers Commission of Alberta. Curtis.
Hi, thanks for the intro, and thanks for having us here for this wonderful event, Honey on the Hill. So yeah, just to echo a few of the concerns that Arnold Viersen has brought forward. We have a few major things, a few concerns on the world market right now. There's a tropal elapse mite that's moving quickly, and we're really concerned about having that arrive here on our land. So we're hoping to see the government intervene and stop the imports of bees from any offshore. We feel like North America needs to become a stronghold and keep this mite out. So that, and then leading into the other big one is our adulterated honey. So we're constantly in competition with other markets that are not under the same regulation and strict guidelines that we follow to produce such a great product. So we'd like to see the government support us in keeping that strong. And then the third one is we've built a lot of our farms over the years just by having a great access to our foreign workers. We've got high-skilled workers, and we appreciate the government being in support of keeping those programs open. So we've had some good discussion about that, and they've assured us that in agriculture they're going to continue to support us with that. So we're very encouraged, and once again, thanks for having us here. And I'll turn it over to my colleague Peter here.
Hello. We're also very appreciative of being invited here. I'm Peter Oram. I'm a director of the Canadian Beekeeping Federation. And all the concerns here that Albert and has told us about are very important to the issue, not only in Canada, but down into the States, Mexico, and actually across the globe. So I've been working very hard working on a North American beekeeping strategy here, because these issues affect the industry all around the world. And it's the same thing here. All the beekeepers are very concerned about this Tropilelaps mite that has become to the forefront very quickly. Currently, it's a lot through Asia, but it has been moving quickly into Europe. We've just seen that recently. And it is devastating these industries, in the beekeeping industries in these new places where it's been showing up. And beekeepers are just going, we cannot handle that. Our industry here in Canada, we've already been suffering considerable problems with bee health because of our long winters and that. And we've had from a lot of it is in relation to another mite that's been here for some time. But we are seeing massive bee losses overnight. So we are very concerned about another mite coming in with the potential to totally devastate our industry and cause significant problems there. And we are very worried about imports. The longer we can keep it out of North America, the better off we are. The adulterated honey is also something I've been very concerned about, and I have set up a lab. We see that considerably. A lot of these places that have this Tropilelaps come up are still somehow magically producing large amounts of honey, even though when you talk to the beekeepers there, they're not getting more, they're not producing more honey. And it is really because we are seeing this influx. They're putting rice syrup in there, and they're selling that as a real product. Thank you.
Thank you, Peter. So we've learned from the world a little bit. Australia, when the varroa mite appeared on the scene, Australia really worked hard, given that they're just one continent, worked really hard to keep bees from coming onto Australia. And they were able to successfully to keep the varroa mite out of Australia for about 30 years. We'd like to be able to replicate that here in Canada with this mite out through a North American bee strategy, to say, hey, if we don't take bees in from the world to North America, we can perhaps keep this mite out. We are already testing for it. The Americans have found this mite 17 kilometers offshore. They've been checking for it on container ships and things like that. So they've managed to, they've noted it, they've disposed of it, and then they've kept it off. So we're hoping that the Canadian government can do something similar, monitor for it, and work with the Americans so that we can keep this mite out of North America. So with that, I'm happy to take some questions. Yes, sir.
Hi, Chris Nardi from the National Post. Okay, I have a number of questions, mostly because this is all very new to me.
Yeah.
And I'll start by saying, can you spell the name of the mite for me?
All right.
T-R-O.
T-R-O.
P-I.
P-I.
L-E-A.
L-E-N.
You should look.
P-A-S.
Tropilelaps.
Tropilelaps, sorry.
Yeah.
L-A-S, sorry. Tropilelaps.
We call it the T-mite to make it easier.
T-mite. T-mite. Yeah. So there's the varroa mite and the T-mite.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so this T-mite has not yet been found, it sounds like, in Canada. So tell me a bit about how it travels. Does it come in on bees? Does it come in honey? Like where did the U.S., for example, catch it, and what would be the main vector for transmission to here eventually?
Peter.
It is so new that we don't have a really good idea of what's going on it, and the information changes almost daily. The latest news that we have is that on live bees without comb, it lasts maybe 4 days. So on a typical ship, it might not. But worrying news recently is that it actually survives quite a bit longer on dead bees. So we would think that short ocean trips and things like that are quite high potential. But one of the reasons we're asking for shutting down the importation of packages from places like Australia is that Australia is much closer to where this is. Papua New Guinea is a mere 150 kilometers away. They already see imports coming in there. Then we are currently getting packages of bees, which is live bees in a tube or a box or something like that. And while those live bees might not hold it, the dead bees that fall to the ground could potentially harbor that mite, come into Canada that way. And we think it is imperative that the CFIA shut down those imports very quickly, especially since they have not done proper risk assessments on a number of these places in decades, even though the disease landscape has changed substantially.
And so, why does Canada import bees? Is it because the local market doesn't sustain? Like, what's the...
As Arnold has said here, it is difficult to keep bees over winter. We do have techniques, they work, but we have sometimes some very hard years where we are not rebuilding up to where it is. So there is interest from a certain beekeepers that we need. When you have a big loss, how do I replenish my stock there? It has varying success how it is. So we're importing that, but as far as where the majority of beekeepers consider this mite to be so devastating that we are better off not importing and destroying our industry and learning how to be much more self-sustaining.
So you're better off not importing, and it might destroy the industry, but it'll rebuild itself?
Without imports, we have been surviving. The amount that we import is actually quite minimal right now. We're not replacing everything. We're bringing in at most, 15% every year in that. And we do have capabilities to rebuild in-house and do that. We are dependent on importing bees, queen bees, from the US, from California and Hawaii. And if that were to be shut off, that would be disastrous to our industry. We could not rebuild without those.
So fair to say you would like to shut off imports of bees from outside of North America?
That's right, outside. Okay. Those are where it's. Italy has shown, is close to areas where this mite has been found. As I said, Australia is right in that thing. It's really a matter of time before Australia gets it.
Sarah Ritchie with the Canadian Press. I, similar to Chris, don't have a lot of knowledge about bees and beekeeping. So
Well, that's what we're here for.
Forgive the questions. Just want to understand, is there anything that the CFIA could do to better track these kind of packages coming in and inspect them? Would that be a way to mitigate this potential problem, or is there no way to find these mites before they come in?
It's possible. Curtis, do you want to take that?
I mean, I imagine that's quite an undertaking. I'm just curious if that's something you'd like them to do, or is stopping importation the only way to cut this off?
I think that stopping importation is the only way to cut this off, because by the time it's landed here, the way that bees forage and the way that bees move, it's very difficult, if not impossible, to keep them totally isolated. So if a mite landed on our soil and it got out into the general population of bees, same as what happened with the varroa mite, it's kind of proven that it will spread throughout the entire bee population.
As far as a North American strategy goes, I'm just curious, given the challenges in the relationship in North America, the challenges in negotiating any kind of strategy or deal with them right now, with the United States in particular, do you anticipate any issues with being able to get cooperation from the US for this kind of strategy?
I'll leave that one for Peter.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, the beekeeping industry is very small, or at least the commercial beekeeping industry. There's a huge number of hobbyists, but there is a small number of commercial beekeepers. And the reality is most of us have been dealing with the same people, both in Canada and the US, for decades. And we know each other and we deal with it. And we all have the same issues. So at the beekeeper level, there is unanimity about what is going on. We are the same. The adulterated honey is a problem. This trophy laelaps mite is a problem. And that's why we worked on this document. We want to be able to go to the governments and say we have the same issues and we would like to see it the same. We do understand, yes, with the current trade relations that there are problems, but we're hoping that because we have the same problems, honey, the U.S. is sort of one of our biggest export markets for honey. It's under the current agreement, so we don't have tariffs on it right now. We hope to keep it that way, and we hope that this is a point where the governments can find, the same path forward to help deal with these issues that we're seeing here.
I guess more than just the trade relationship, you talked about the fact that the United States has detected this mite offshore. Do you have concerns with the deep cuts from the Trump administration to the kind of research and technology that's been implemented? Like, I'm thinking about the cuts to the FDA, that kind of thing. Do you have concerns about the ability of the U.S. government to continue that kind of monitoring?
Oh, for sure, we are worried about the U.S., which is again same concerns. The U.S. beekeepers want to pressure them to keep this up. Certainly, finding it off, if it shows up in either U.S. or Canada, both industries are going to be in trouble because we have this common border. Bees they're flying across the border all the time. They do this wild swarming thing that nobody can keep totally under control. So if we get it here, we're going to give it to them. If they get it, they're going to give it to us. So we are definitely concerned. I mean, overall, though, the U.S. shut off imports from Australia in 2010 because they, on the whole, have over the years had done a better job of security that way. So we're hoping that they will keep that implemented and continue to behave that way. And we want to be on the same page with that.
Yeah, I guess I would just add to that, I would add to that just the point that our concerns aren't so much trade related as they are bee health related. That's the biggest thing. And I think that the concern around this mite coming from Canada to the United States is probably greater from the American side than the Canadian side. So there's probably more interest from them than there is from our side at this point. We haven't detected it and haven't caught it, and that might just be more a problem of our system rather than the fact whether it's here or not. So.
And that's just a function, if I understand correctly, of the fact that we have not shut off those imports from Australia.
Yeah. So we take bees from more places in the world than the Americans do, and so they're concerned about this. It's a greater concern in that direction than the other direction.
Have you heard anything in the last, through your lobbying, do you feel like the government understands and is taking this message to heart?
Yeah, Curtis.
Yeah, so we've been up here, and Arnold hosted a great event last night, and we've been able to talk to some different politicians. So that's been very positive, and this morning we met with some other Conservative MPs. So those have all been, and one of our struggles over the years has been being able to reach CFIA and to have a direct voice with them. So I would have to say that over the years that has not been a great relationship. We don't feel like we've always been heard, but we were able to hold a meeting with them yesterday, and I would say it was very positive. So.
I have another one for you guys. Out of curiosity, two questions actually. So just on the mite, what happens, why is it such a danger to both bees and the industry? What is it about this particular mite that's so terrifying?
So this tea mite or trophy mite, it acts quite a bit differently than the varroa mite. So the varroa mite we've been dealing with, my entire beekeeping career, but it lives on the adult bee. It has a slower reproductive process. They say, someone has a stat that if you get the varroa mite in your hive, it'll collapse within 18 months without being treated. But this trophy mite your hive will collapse within 90 days. And so it has less exposure. It spends more time inside the brood. It's a real scavenger, and it has
It's physically smaller as well, so it's harder to see.
Much harder to detect, much harder to treat. So all these things I mean, we don't have a lot of data on it because it's been moving very quickly. We don't know how it's going to, live in a colder climate and do these things. But unfortunately, it seems like the pests are able to adapt to things much better than our
Treatments, yeah.
And just kind of logistically, so the solution is that you're suggesting is shut down imports from outside of North America or the U.S. But you said that will be hard for the industry. So tell me a little bit about that curve. If that happens, what challenges would you see for your industry, like the drop in bees, and then how do you see that recovery happening, if at all? Or is it just you'll take the hit, you'll produce less honey, but at least the hives will be safe? Like how do you see that going if the ban comes in as you asked for?
Yeah, so I do feel like even before this mite, a lot of our industry is moving towards being more self-sustaining. So a lot of that still needs to be developed and we do need to grow, but it is a potential and it is a possibility. So different regions have an ability to raise more bees and do that, but there's not always a market for it. So I do feel like we might have a dip in beehive numbers, especially from the beekeepers that use these imported bees as part of their management strategy. But over time, I do feel like the domestic market will grow, and also us as beekeepers will find better ways to replace our own stock from within. And yeah, just to really stress the fact that we feel like it's more of a risk to import that mite into our operations than it is to, learn to be more self-sufficient.
Thank you. This concludes the press conference. Merci. C'est ce qui conclut cette conférence de presse.
Thank you.
Good job.